Right before we jump into this video, if you haven't signed up for the Frontals Photo email list, look for this orange box over on the website, put your name, email address in it, hit send it, and I will send you a free guide to capturing motion in low light situations. Jared Polin, FrontosPhoto.com, and this is a comparison between the Nikon D750 and D500. Everybody wants to know, which one should I get? Should it be the D750, which is a year and a half older than the Nikon D500, or should you go with the newer D500? And what I want to do right now is run through the specs to help you figure out which one is for you. Now, I want to remind you that I have real-world reviews of both of these cameras, the D750 and the D500. You can check them out where I take cameras out into real-world situations and actually put them through their paces. But let's look at the price points. The D750 is priced at $1996.95 on sale right now, and the D500 is the exact same price. The Nikon D750 came out in October of 2014, where the D500 came out in April 2016. That's a year and a half newer for the D500. Now, one of the main differences is that the D500 is a DX cropped sensor camera, whereas the D750 is a full frame sensor. Now, when the D750 first came out, it was my top recommendation for a starter camera. The place where people should start if they're looking to get into photography. I thought the D750 was the best choice, but is it still the best choice? Let's run through more specs. You have a 20.9 megapixel DX sensor in this one, and then you have a 24.3 in the FX. Now, in the past, you would think that the ISO capability would be better in a full-frame camera than a DX camera, but I have to tell you from my experiences that the D500 high ISO capability is even better than the D750, and part of that is because your ISO range is 100 to 51,200 natively, expandable all the way up to 1.64 million in the D500. Now, on the other side, you have 100 ISO all the way up to 12,800 natively. Now, that isn't as good as what you're finding in the D500. So not only does the ISO go further with the D500 than the D750, I think it's better, like I said, from the tests that I've shown. You can check out sample images over on the website. You have 153 autofocus points in the Nikon D500, with 99 of them being cross-type, and you have 51 of them in the D750, with only 15 of them being cross-type. Also, in the DX camera, the focus points go all the way to the side, edge to edge, where it's more tightly in the middle with the D750. So I like the autofocus capability, especially with the focus points of the D500. With that being said, it has the same focusing system as the Nikon D5. That is a huge deal. The D500 is considered more of a professional body than the D750, and you can tell that because of the dials on the top, as well as the circular viewfinder on the backhand side. They both have 100% viewfinder coverage, which is a good thing to have with a full-frame camera. Now, the D750 has a built-in flash, where the Nikon D500 does not. For me, that isn't a deal breaker, but it may be for some of you guys out there. You have 10 frames a second with the D500, where you only have 6.5 frames a second with the D750. Again, the D500 is a more well-rounded camera based on the specs that we're talking about right now. In terms of memory cards, one XQD, one SD, and you have two SD on this side. I prefer having two of the same, but again, not a deal breaker, especially when you're shooting 4K video with this D500. You have the faster XQD card slots, and the video is better with the D500 than it is on the D750. You have 4K UHD at 30 frames a second for 29 minutes and 59 seconds in this D500. On the D750 side, it's 1080 at 60 frames a second for a 20-minute max. So already the D500 is giving you better video quality. In terms of the screens, you have 3.2-inch screens on both of them, but you have a touchscreen on the D500, and also the pull-out screen is built better than it was on the D750. So again, the D500 seems to be more of a pro body. It feels better in the hands. It has better placement of buttons. It's more designed after the D5, which is the high-end pro camera, and the D750 is more of a consumer and entry level into the full frame market. Like I said, this used to be my recommendation of the camera to start with when you were just starting out. So the big question is, who should get which camera? Who should go with the D500 or who should go with the D750? Now, if you're shooting kids and sports and nature, you kind of want the more bang for your buck with the D500 because of the 1.5x crop factor. Also, the better ISO and the high ISO capability. This is a great starting point. If you're somebody just getting into the game or a professional who wants a backup camera, you cannot go wrong with the D500. A year and a half ago, the D750 was my recommendation, and right now I am hard pressed to tell you that you should buy a D750 over a D500. I just think a D500 is more well-rounded even though it's a DX camera. It's more of a professional build, professional quality. All around, I think it's a lot better than the D750. If you already have a D750, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think if you're jumping into the full frame game, you better be looking at the D810 range or something like a D5. In this case, the D750 at this point probably isn't a camera that I'd start with. I'd push you more towards the D500. One of the only things you need to take into consideration with the D500 is that being that it's a DX sensor, you need to invest in wider angle lenses than with the FX body. You may need to pick up some third-party glass to give you that extra wider angle that you're looking for that you would get with something like the 14-24 2.8 on the Nikon with the D750. It's just something you need to take into consideration. And finally, glass, 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 glass. If you put quality glass in front of both of these cameras, you have a better shot of getting better images. So my recommendation for just about anybody starting out now is the D500 is the way to go. And only time will tell if the D750 will be replaced or totally left to rot because they're just going to go with the D810 range, but we will see. So remember, I have real-world reviews of both of these cameras so you can decide which one is for you. You can download the raw files and try them out, and that is pretty much it. If you haven't subscribed here on YouTube and you want to check out all of my 2,000 plus videos, go ahead and do that because I make fun and informative videos that hopefully you really enjoy. And that is it, Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.